All right, crew. Today's segment is going to be called When Should I Eat? I don't know about you, but over the last, 10, 15 years, there's been information overload when it comes to telling people when they need to be eating. When I was younger and I was just kind of getting my feet wet in this whole training, fitness kind of thing, one thing that was really popular was this idea of eating small meals all day long. You eat these little bitty itty bitty meals and you keep having them all day and you keep stoking that metabolic furnace. Because if you stop eating, your metabolism stops and you go into starvation mode and then you can't burn any fat. So you better keep eating. Years later, they came up with a new thing called intermittent fasting, which is the absolute opposite of small meals, right? So they're saying, no, you gotta stop eating if you want to lose some weight. So you're gonna stop eating by about 8 p.m. and then you're gonna start eating the next day, maybe around lunchtime, around noon. Does that work? And then a lot of people, oh my gosh, I lost all this weight. It's because I didn't eat. That's how I lost weight. Okay. And then I came across some folks that said, no, you need to stop eating after dinner, especially carbohydrates, because when you eat carbs after dinner, it's an energy source and you might need that throughout the day for your workouts. But if you're just gonna go to sleep, it's gonna get stored as fat and you won't be able to lose weight. And then these last two, this has to do more with exercise, working out. Should I eat before a workout? You might want to, but you don't have to. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And then this one really relates to my hardcore fitness folks who really feel like, man, I just finished my workout. I better get that protein shake in or this whole workout's wasted. All right, so let's dive in here. So the first one we're gonna talk about is this idea of having these little small meals all day long. We're gonna talk about the pros and the cons. So if you do go the route of, hey, you know what? It's the small meals, I like that idea. I like enjoying a little bit of food all day long. So some of the pros are you're eating all day long. The idea being you shouldn't feel overly hungry at any one point. For some people, it might help them manage their hunger or their fullness cues so that they're never overeating, which is a really important part of the idea of losing weight. So generally when we need to lose weight, we need to not get to the point where we're stuffing our face. So we're creating some form of caloric deficit and we can lose some weight. We can get into that fast loss kind of phase. Some of the drawbacks to the small meals can be if the small meals all of a sudden turn into a big meal, right? So if you're enjoying the small meal, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and then all of a sudden you're going, you know what, I'm going full size with my dinner, well then you probably went back into that surplus range and you have now exceeded the amount of calories that you need for that day. And it's gonna be really hard for you to lose fat or lose weight if you're having that excess amount of food going into your body. So my suggestion would just be, if you are gonna go the small meal route, keep the amounts in check. So never going too big at any one meal, and just being really consistent with your nutrition throughout the day. Let's talk about intermittent fasting for a second. For some folks, this can be a really, really successful strategy, especially if you're someone who really doesn't like breakfast. So if you're skipping breakfast and maybe you're just gonna have a cup of coffee or some tea, and you make it to lunch, well, you just stop eating from that window of when you woke up till about noon, 1 p.m. or so. All right, so naturally your body is gonna have to start using some of its fat stores, the rest of its glycogen stores for fuel and not the food that you put in the body, right? So then if you're gonna start eating at lunch, maybe you have a snack, or dinner, maybe a light snack after, you put yourself in a good position to get into that caloric deficit. Now, a couple of the drawbacks to intermittent fasting when it comes to fat loss is if you make it to lunch and now you're the type of person that just gets really, really hungry and you cannot manage those hunger or those fullness cues, because you fasted through half the day, it might make eating the rest of the day a little more challenging, especially if you're not trying to overeat. So even though you skip the breakfast and you have a little bit more of a caloric allowance for the rest of the day, we still need to be mindful and careful that we don't totally blow that surplus. Again, if we do that, then we just lost the effect of the fast, and we're back at square one, where we're either maintaining or potentially even gaining some weight at that point. All right, stopping to eat after dinner. Again, though carbohydrate is an energy source and it does help fuel us for performance, just because we have it after dinner doesn't mean we can't lose weight. So if we're keeping the overall calories in check and we are in a little bit of a deficit, you can absolutely enjoy some fruit, something like that after dinner, even though you might not actually be doing anything, right? So you might be shutting it down for the night, you might enjoy a little bowl of fruit, you can still lose weight. We just want to take a look at overall calories throughout the day and make sure that we're still staying below that threshold, right? That maintenance threshold where we're going to be in the deficit. Should I eat before a workout? This is a really common one. I have a lot of clients who they like to work out first thing in the morning and they don't necessarily want to get up any earlier to eat and then work out. You do not need to eat before you work out. If you're the type of person that you just feel really hungry, then have a light carb source, I would say an hour before your training. So generally 20 to 30 grams of carbs, which would be about like the size of a regular banana. That banana is not going to help you fuel for that workout an hour before your workout time. It's gonna make you feel more comfortable if you were hungry, which is important. So if you're just getting into your workout and all you can think about is eating, it's gonna take away from your overall training session. Your glycogen stores, so that's like the fuel that's in your muscles, that's restored about 18 to 24 hours prior. So if you're thinking, I need to fuel for performance and for training, and you're eating an hour before your workout, you're too late. You need to be thinking about fueling the day before. So it's really common for our endurance athletes, our high-level athletes. You might have heard the term carb loading, and that's a real thing. So they'll make sure they get a high amount of carbohydrate into their diet, but that's happening the day before that event. So their glycogen stores are really high and they can perform at the highest level possible. Protein within 30 minutes after your workout. This was a super common one, especially if you kind of grew up going to the gym, you did your workout, and man, you better make sure that you had that protein shake within 30 minutes, where all the work that you just did, it didn't matter. This type of thing, though it might make you feel good and you got your protein shake in after your workout, at the end of the day, it does not matter. The most important thing when it comes to our protein is just making sure we're hitting our numbers over the course of the day. So my recommendation for those that are looking to improve their aesthetics, so building or retaining your lean muscle mass, you're looking for about a minimum of 0.8 grams per pound body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, you're looking for about a minimum of 160 grams of protein throughout the day. Ideally, that would be kind of broken up, right? So we don't want to have all 160 grams at breakfast. You can chunk it up throughout the day. That is going to have a much more dramatic and larger effect on your ability to build and maintain lean muscle mass versus that one protein shake after your workout. So definitely focus on protein, but if you're only getting it right after your workout, you're missing the mark. Make sure that protein consumption is spreaded across the entire day, and that's when you're going to get the most bang for your buck. All right, so to wrap this whole thing up, the most important thing in terms of when we should be eating is what's ideal for you. What works for you? What can you do the most consistently? So if you like skipping breakfast and you can do a good job of managing your fullness and your hunger cues, intermittent fasting might be a great option. If you enjoy eating a little bit throughout the day, the small meals, that could be a really good option. Either one is fine. If you want to go more of a traditional 3 square meals, 2 snacks a day, that is fine. If the idea is to lose body fat, we need to make sure that we're in a little bit of that caloric deficit, right? So starting to eat a little bit less. If you're just getting into this, you're thinking, don't stuff, don't starve. Generally, if you're in those parameters and you're keeping an eye, you're paying attention to your fullness and your hunger cues, you generally can lose some weight. So, especially if you do that consistently. So, what I always recommend, let's find a strategy that you know that you could stick to, it works with your lifestyle and your schedule, and you're gonna be best suited for that. If you find yourself just constantly popping between different strategies, you might notice that your weight goes up and down. And that's because you're gonna have big fluctuations in your weight due to when your food is coming in. So if you want to see a more linear trajectory of what's happening with your weight to determine if you should be eating more or less food, I would recommend picking one of these strategies, sticking with it for a couple weeks, monitoring your progress, and then making an adjustment. So that's what I got for you guys today. When should you eat? That really is up to you. Just make sure the amounts are the amount you need to move you closer to your goals. So if you're trying to build some muscle mass, we want to make sure we're eating in a little bit of a surplus, nothing crazy. If we're trying to maintain, that essentially means we're giving the amount of calories for our body to hold that body weight steady. And then if we're trying to lose weight or lose body fat, we're creating that consistent caloric deficit over a week or two, and then making some adjustments based on what's happening with our weight. Awesome, y'all. I hope that was helpful. If you guys ever have any questions, Coach is here for you. My team is here for you. We would love nothing more than to help you reach your goals, to feel really good about your nutrition, about your fitness, the way your clothes fit, your confidence going out. So anyways, y'all, enjoy your day. Coach Rich will speak with you soon.